On the 1st of October, 331 BC, dust rose over the plain of Gaugamela as two mighty armies prepared for war. Alexander the Great commanded a battle-hardened Macedonian army, while King Darius III led a Persian host that outnumbered him many times over. But what if history had a strange visitor that day, a machine born 2,300 years in the future, silent and deadly? Imagine a modern American B-2 Spirit stealth bomber suddenly appearing in the sky above Gaugamela, its black wings blotting out the morning sun. This is a hypothetical journey through time, a thought experiment asking how a single modern bomber could change the outcome of ancient warfare. Could one aircraft from the future truly shatter an army that conquered most of the known world in just a few short years? To understand the scale of this imagined clash, we must first step back into the ancient world and its brutal art of war. The Battle of Gaugamela was fought near modern-day Mosul in Iraq, a flat open plain chosen deliberately by the Persian king. Darius wanted open ground for his chariots and cavalry, hoping sheer numbers and terrain would finally crush the invading Macedonian army, eventually. Now picture that same flat plain suddenly echoing with the deep roar of jet engines instead of only horses and marching feet. Alexander's army numbered around 47,000 men, a smaller but far more disciplined force than the Persian host he faced forever. At its heart stood the famous Macedonian phalanx, soldiers armed with the sarissa, a spear stretching over 18 feet long, in moments. These phalangites moved as one solid wall of bristling spear points, nearly impossible for enemy infantry to break through directly, even now. Alongside the phalanx marched the hypaspists, elite shield-bearers trained for speed and flexibility in the chaos of battle, in remarkable detail. Alexander himself led the companion cavalry, an elite mounted force that would deliver the decisive hammer blow of the day, without question. These horsemen wore bronze cuirasses and carried the Zeiston lance, striking fear into any enemy line they charged against, in remarkable detail. Thalian cavalry guarded the left flank, considered among the finest horsemen in the entire ancient Greek-speaking world, beyond any reasonable doubt. Greek allied infantry and mercenaries filled out the ranks, men fighting far from home under Alexander's ambitious banner for years to come. Archers and javelin throwers screened the army's flanks, ready to disrupt any Persian cavalry charge before it could land, in remarkable detail. Every soldier in this army had already marched thousands of miles across Asia, hardened by years of relentless campaigning, for generations after. Discipline, not numbers, was the true weapon of Alexander's force, forged through brutal training back in Macedon years earlier across the plain. Alexander positioned his forces at an angle, refusing to simply meet the vast Persian line head-on across open ground, even now. This clever angled formation would draw the Persians out of position, creating gaps that Alexander intended to exploit ruthlessly, in remarkable detail. Every commander under Alexander understood his role precisely, a testament to years of shared victories from Greece to Persia, beyond all doubt. This was the force our imagined B-2 Spirit bomber would find waiting below, disciplined, confident, and utterly unprepared for the sky, instantly. Facing them stood King Darius III, commanding an enormous multinational army drawn from every corner of his vast empire, even now. Estimates of Persian numbers vary wildly among ancient historians, ranging from 100,000 to over 1,000,000 soldiers across the plain. Regardless of the exact figure, Darius commanded a force that dwarfed Alexander's army several times over in raw numbers, in remarkable detail. Persian cavalry included fierce warriors from Bactria and Scythia, renowned for their speed, archery skill, and relentless mobility for years to come. Scythe chariots waited at the front, deadly blades mounted on their wheels designed to cut through infantry lines across the ancient world. War elephants, brought from India, loomed behind the Persian center, terrifying animals meant to shatter enemy morale instantly, according to surviving records. Immortal infantry units, elite Persian soldiers, formed a core of experienced fighters loyal directly to the Persian king for years to come. Darius had also prepared the battlefield itself, clearing rocks and smoothing ground for his chariots weeks before the fight, in remarkable detail. This careful preparation showed Darius understood his advantage lay in open terrain, numbers, and the shock of chariots, as history clearly shows. Yet none of this preparation could account for an enemy that would arrive not on the ground, but from the sky, completely. The Persian line stretched far beyond both Macedonian flanks, threatening to encircle Alexander's smaller army from every direction, according to surviving records. Darius believed sheer scale alone would overwhelm the invaders, a reasonable assumption given every battle fought before that day for generations after. Historians still debate the exact composition of this massive Persian force, blending soldiers, mercenaries, and allied tribal warriors for years to come. This was an empire's final desperate gathering, drawn from Egypt to India, united only by loyalty to King Darius, beyond all doubt. Against this ocean of soldiers, our imagined stealth bomber would find an almost impossibly large and vulnerable target below, in remarkable detail. The B-2 Spirit is a modern American stealth bomber, first flown in 1989 and still active in service today forever. Its flying wing design and radar-absorbing materials make it almost invisible to any detection system of its own era, even now. Against an ancient army with no radar at all, the B-2 would simply appear as a silent shape in the sky completely. The bomber can carry over 40,000 pounds of ordnance, including powerful guided bombs capable of devastating ground targets, across the plane. A single Mark 84 bomb releases nearly 2,000 pounds of explosive force upon impact with the ground within mere minutes. Even without nuclear weapons, conventional bombs from this aircraft would be utterly beyond anything the ancient world had seen, beyond all doubt. The B-2 typically cruises at high altitude, far above the range of any arrow, sling stone, or thrown spear, across the plane. Its jet engines would produce a deep roar utterly foreign to soldiers who had only ever heard horses and horns, without question. Modern targeting systems allow the crew to strike with pinpoint accuracy from many miles away without ever being seen, in remarkable detail. In our hypothetical scenario, the bomber carries a full payload of precision-guided bombs meant for mass troop formations for generations after. 2 pilots would operate this aircraft, trained for missions lasting many hours across vast distances without ever landing, beyond any reasonable doubt. The stealth bomber's range exceeds 6,000 miles, meaning it could easily cross the ancient world in a single flight, without question. None of the ancient world's technology could track, intercept, or even properly comprehend a machine like the B-2 Spirit across the plane. This total technological mismatch is exactly what makes our imagined scenario such a fascinating thought experiment to explore, according to surviving records. With its capabilities established, let us imagine how this single aircraft might change the course of that ancient battle for generations after. As dawn broke over Gaugamela, the 2 ancient armies began their slow advance, unaware anything unusual watched from above for generations after. High above the battlefield, our imagined B-2 Spirit begins its descent, engines throttled back to remain as quiet as possible, beyond doubt. The bomber's crew studies the dense Macedonian phalanx formation below, identifying the tightly packed ranks as a prime target within mere minutes. Alexander rides forward with his companion cavalry, completely unaware that a machine from the future circles silently overhead, according to surviving records. Suddenly, a deep rumble fills the sky, growing louder as the black shape of the bomber becomes visible to all, without question. Soldiers on both sides stop mid-stride, pointing upward in confusion at the strange black shape crossing the heavens in remarkable detail. Some ancient soldiers believe it to be an omen from the gods, a dark bird sent to judge their battle, without question. The bomb bay doors slowly open, revealing rows of precision-guided munitions ready to fall upon the tightly packed ranks, even now. The first bomb falls silently, tumbling through the air before slamming into the heart of the Macedonian phalanx formation for generations after. A massive explosion tears through the tightly packed spearmen, hurling bodies and shattered weapons across the dusty battlefield, as history clearly shows. The shockwave alone would strike soldiers standing many rows deep, a force utterly beyond anything ancient warfare had produced, beyond all doubt. Panic spreads instantly through the ranks as men who had never feared any enemy suddenly break and scatter wildly for generations after. The disciplined phalanx, the very core of Alexander's power, dissolves within seconds under the weight of modern explosives across the ancient world. A second bomb falls toward the companion cavalry, Alexander's own elite horsemen caught completely exposed in open ground beyond any reasonable doubt. Horses rear and bolt in terror as the explosion throws riders from their saddles amid fire and choking smoke beyond all doubt. Even Alexander himself, famed for his courage, would find no answer to weapons falling from beyond the clouds above for generations after. The Persian army watches in stunned silence, uncertain whether this strange bomber fights for them or against every mortal, beyond all doubt. Darius, ever cautious, may see this as a sign to retreat rather than risk his own men near such destruction without warning. More bombs continue to fall, methodically striking supply wagons, reserve troops, and the remaining organized Macedonian formations, as many scholars now agree. Within minutes, an army that had never lost a major battle finds itself broken by a single unseen aircraft across the plain. Alexander must now decide whether to rally his shattered forces or order a full retreat from this impossible enemy across the plain. His officers, hardened by years of victories, struggle to process an enemy they cannot see, reach, or even understand across the plain. Traditional tactics mean nothing against an enemy striking from 6 miles above with weapons no shield can possibly stop in remarkable detail. The Macedonian cavalry, once the terror of every battlefield, now scatters in directions with no clear enemy to charge for generations after. Fires spread across dry grass, ignited by the explosions, adding smoke and chaos to an already desperate situation, beyond any reasonable doubt. The ground itself shakes with each impact, craters appearing where organized ranks of soldiers had stood only moments before, for generations after. Wounded men cry out amid the wreckage, their injuries unlike anything ancient physicians had ever been trained to treat, beyond all doubt. Alexander's personal bodyguard forms a tight circle around him, though even they know no shield stops falling bombs, beyond any reasonable doubt. The bomber makes a final pass, its bomb bay now empty, before climbing back into the safety of the clouds, in moments. Silence slowly returns to Gaugamela, broken only by the crackle of fires and the cries of the wounded below within mere minutes. What remains of Alexander's proud army now stands broken, its formation shattered, its confidence utterly and completely destroyed for years to come. Darius, watching from a safe distance, might see an unexpected opportunity to finally defeat his longtime rival, according to surviving records. Yet even the Persian army remains deeply shaken, uncertain whether the sky itself has turned against every mortal soldier in remarkable detail. In this altered timeline, the momentum of the battle shifts entirely, no longer decided by tactics or troop numbers for generations after. Alexander, the undefeated conqueror, now faces the very real possibility of his first true defeat on open ground across the ancient world. Historians in our timeline note that Alexander's genius lay in adapting quickly, a trait that might yet save him here beyond doubt. Perhaps he orders his remaining cavalry to disperse and regroup, avoiding tight formations that make easy targets from above within mere minutes. This desperate improvisation shows the very quality that made Alexander legendary, adapting even to threats beyond comprehension, as later chroniclers would describe. Meanwhile, the bomber, its mission theoretically complete, turns westward and vanishes back into the folds of time itself across the ancient world. The battlefield left behind bears no resemblance to the orderly clash that history books once described so vividly across the ancient world. If Alexander's army had truly been shattered this way, the entire course of world history would shift dramatically forever, in remarkable detail. The Hellenistic age, born from Alexander's conquests, might never spread Greek culture across Egypt, Persia, and Central Asia, according to surviving records. Cities like Alexandria in Egypt, founded by the conqueror himself, may never rise along the Mediterranean coastline at all, for generations after. The spread of Greek philosophy, science, and language throughout Asia could be delayed or erased entirely from history for years to come. Darius, though shaken, might reclaim his empire's former strength, reshaping the balance of power across the ancient world, beyond any reasonable doubt. Rome, still centuries away from its rise, would inherit a completely different geopolitical map than the one it actually faced, without warning. Of course, this entire scenario remains pure speculation, a thought experiment blending ancient history with modern military technology, beyond any reasonable doubt. Alexander the Great, in our actual history, went on to defeat Darius decisively and conquer the vast Persian Empire for generations after. He would go on to found cities, spread Greek culture, and build one of history's largest empires before dying young, in moments. No stealth bomber, of course, ever appeared above Gaugamela, and Alexander's true victory reshaped the ancient world completely for years to come. This kind of hypothetical scenario helps us appreciate just how vulnerable even history's greatest armies truly were to sudden shocks in moments. It also highlights how dramatically technology alone can decide the outcome of a battle, regardless of courage or skill involved, even now. Military historians often use such thought experiments to explore the limits of tactics against overwhelming technological advantage, according to many ancient historians. The B-2 Spirit itself remains one of the most advanced aircraft ever built, a symbol of modern air power dominance, without warning. Comparing it to ancient warfare reminds us just how far military technology has advanced across more than 2 millennia, beyond all doubt. Alexander's true genius lay not in weapons, but in leadership, strategy, and the loyalty he inspired among his soldiers, in remarkable detail. Even against impossible odds in our imagined scenario, that same leadership might have found some way to adapt and survive, even now. History remembers Gaugamela as one of the most decisive battles ever fought, ending Persian imperial power for centuries, beyond any reasonable doubt. Our hypothetical bombing run simply asks what might happen if modern power collided with ancient glory on that same field, without question. It is a reminder that history, though fixed, still fascinates us through endless questions of what could have been, beyond all doubt. Let us examine more closely how a single B-2 sortie could theoretically neutralize an entire ancient battlefield within mere minutes. A payload of 16 large guided bombs could realistically be distributed across command positions, cavalry, and infantry blocks across the ancient world. Striking Alexander's command position first could theoretically decapitate the Macedonian leadership before any orders reached the front lines, beyond any reasonable doubt. Removing Alexander from the equation, even temporarily, would leave his famously flexible tactics without their guiding mind, according to many ancient historians. The Persian side would gain a significant advantage, though their own soldiers would still fear the mysterious aircraft above, beyond all doubt. Some historians speculate Darius himself might panic and flee, a pattern he had shown in earlier battles against Alexander, within mere minutes. If both leaders lost control amid the bombing, the battle could collapse into total chaos with no clear victor emerging, beyond doubt. This possibility complicates simple predictions, showing how unpredictable warfare becomes once modern shock weapons enter ancient combat, as the historical record shows. A single aircraft cannot occupy territory or hold ground, meaning armies on both sides might eventually regroup and continue fighting, even now. Without ground troops to follow up the bombing, the strategic impact might fade once survivors rally under new leadership, beyond all doubt. This raises an interesting question about whether air power alone can truly decide a battle without any ground support, in remarkable detail. Modern military doctrine still emphasizes combined arms, using air, land, and naval forces together for decisive victory, as later chroniclers would describe. A lone B-2 sortie, however devastating, represents only a fraction of what a true anachronistic invasion force might accomplish, within mere minutes. Still, the psychological shock of witnessing such destruction would likely linger far longer than the physical damage itself, as history clearly shows. Ancient chroniclers might record the event as a divine punishment, weaving it into religious texts for generations afterward, as history clearly shows. Such an event could even alter the development of ancient religion, mythology, and the way rulers claim divine favor, beyond all doubt. Future generations might build monuments or write epics about the day the sky itself seemed to judge two armies, beyond all doubt. In this way, our hypothetical scenario ripples far beyond the battlefield itself, touching culture, religion, and historical memory across the ancient world. It shows how a single moment of overwhelming technological force could reshape not just politics, but entire belief systems, in remarkable detail. These speculative ripples remind us why alternate history remains such a captivating way to explore our own real past across the plane. Let us return one final time to the real history, where Alexander's tactical brilliance alone secured a stunning victory, beyond all doubt. His angled formation lured Persian cavalry away, opening a gap that his companion cavalry exploited with devastating precision across the ancient world. Darius fled the field once again, abandoning his massive army and effectively ending any hope of Persian imperial recovery for generations after. Alexander's actual victory at Gaugamela opened the gates to Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, the great cities of Persia, beyond any reasonable doubt. No stealth bomber altered this outcome, yet the scale of Alexander's true achievement still feels almost unbelievable today, as history clearly shows. Our imagined scenario simply amplifies an eternal question: how technology and leadership together shape the destiny of nations across the ancient world. Would you rather witness raw human courage overcome impossible odds, or watch technology instantly decide an ancient battle for years to come? These thought experiments help us appreciate history more deeply by imagining how fragile even legendary victories truly were, beyond any reasonable doubt. Alexander the Great remains one of history's most remarkable commanders, undefeated in battle despite facing overwhelming numbers repeatedly across the ancient world. His story continues to inspire military strategists, historians, and storytellers more than 2,000 years after his death, beyond any reasonable doubt. The B-2 Spirit, meanwhile, continues serving in modern air forces, a testament to how far aviation technology has come beyond all doubt. Comparing these two symbols of military power across time reminds us how dramatically the tools of war have evolved across the plane. If you enjoyed this journey through ancient battle and modern imagination, consider exploring more hypothetical history scenarios with us across the plane. Let us know in the comments which historical battle you would like to see reimagined with modern technology next, in remarkable detail.